kind. You guys can hear me? Yes, okay. Well, this is a second emotional moment for me, 2 days in a row. So Srinivas, who, again, we started at Tavant pretty much the same day, same week, plus minus a few hours. Again, his employee number is probably lower than mine. And he was with us in the initial days when the journey began. It's been 25 years. This is our 25th year.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, thank you. And it's been quite a journey. So, again, the fact that he's back here on stage with me is the once a Tavantian, always a Tavantian principle. By the way, I forgot to mention that we apply that term to our customers as well. Pretty much all our customers, unless there are some unusual M&A type solutions or situations, all our customers from when Srinivas was working on developing solutions are still our customers. So thank you. I mean, you must have done an amazing job back then. And as our present teams who are all over here continue to do, as a services partner or whether we're implementing our products for you, we hope this journey continues. So thank you for being here and kind of being part of our journey. So,
can I just say something? Yeah,
yeah.
Thank you for having me. I mean, I'm only slightly embarrassed by the introduction, but our roots go so long, over 25 years, and brings back amazing memories of building up the company from the early days, and really, really glad and excited to be here.
Yeah. So now Srinivas is the VP of Engineering at OpenAI. He has a very big task. And so it's a little unsettling for me to have a fireside chat with him because his recent one was with the Wall Street Journal, so I have a tough act to follow. So hopefully I can, keep him awake.
No, glad to be here.
What do you think? Yeah. So I have just some, some outlandish questions. So November 30th, 22, you guys shook up the world. I mean, it just, it's added trillions in market value to many companies. So just as a kind of a point, NVIDIA's market cap, right before they announced ChatGPT, broad release, et cetera, was $350 billion, and now it's $3.5 trillion. So and then a whole bunch of other companies have added that much more, So trillions in market value have been added. So if you look at the S&P 500 from that day on to now, 80% of that is attributable to, the prospect of AI, right? So, and then of course there are ancillary investments happening now all the way into utilities and so on, right? Yeah. And it's conceivable that you guys will actually own utilities at some point, and it's starting to happen, and it's starting by long-term contracts. People are starting to buy nuclear plants. So anyway, for me, when I first kind of started my journey with ChatGPT, I was actually reminded, because my mother asked me, like, what is AI? And I just couldn't explain it. And she's never used a computer. So I took it back to a device that was imagined almost 200 years ago by the Brothers Grimm. And in Snow White, there is this evil queen who always asks the question, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? So, and the mirror would answer any question. And so I said, wow, as a kid, I was reading this, and now this is very similar. You can ask the mirror anything.
But it hallucinates a little bit.
It hallucinates. Yes, yeah. Well, I'm sure the mirror did as well. I mean, it showed strange images. And so I sometimes, just to have fun with ChatGPT, I preface my prompt with mirror, mirror on the wall, and then I put in whatever prompt. And sometimes it gives very interesting answers that are different if I just did not use the mirror, mirror on the wall. It kind of creates a persona, that it's very interesting. So I've almost got that, cut and paste, and then I add it, and then I do it without it. So
Interesting.
Anyway, so you, as a company, this is the other research I did, is they're the most valuable company per employee. So with the
Not surprised, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're not a large company, 5,000, 6,000?
Less than that.
Yeah. So about 5,000 people with
Probably half of that, actually.
half of that. Okay.
Slightly more, maybe 3,000.
Yeah. So do the math at a 300 billion valuation with 2,500 people. Pound for pound, it is the most valuable company on the planet. So, pound for pound is a lot of value just sitting here. Because he heads up a huge part of the engineering part of OpenAI. So I'm very curious as to what is the culture like, the engineering, what's kind of, what drives that innovation, because it's an arms race as well. So just tell us a little bit about the engineering culture, your philosophy, and how do you keep innovating?
Yeah. I think it goes back to the mission. I think our mission is to ensure AGI benefits all of humanity. It's a very simple statement, but I think there's just a lot of depth to that and complexity to that. And I would say it's a very mission-driven company. We really, really deeply care about AI, it going well and building it. And I think it's just such an incredible moment in technology. A lot of us have lived through multiple eras of technological transformation. We were there when Tavant started. It was the internet era. And that was a massive opportunity. And we all saw that play out. There was the mobile era. There was the cloud era. I think this is just bigger than all of them put together.
Wow.
And it just feels so transformational. And this is why I used all the numbers that you talked about, right? Like NVIDIA's market cap is 10x. We're probably the fastest company to have gotten to 100 million users, like market cap, all of these numbers. I think it speaks to the transformative potential of this technology, and the rate of adoption is just insane. I've never seen anything like that. And I was at Meta during its heydays, right? And that was a very transformative technology. It's a very transformative company. We grew so fast. But even compared to that, this just is really, really surreal. And it creates all sorts of interesting challenges in the company when you have such crazy growth. But it's an amazing privilege to be there and to help shape that. So going back to the culture question, I think deeply we have this thing called Feel the AGI in the company. And it's really about realizing the importance and the opportunity and the responsibility that we have to steer this incredibly powerful technology to make sure that it is beneficial, to make sure that we're building that in a reasonable way, in a safe way, and guiding that. I think that is kind of like the core ethos of the company. And I think that guides us quite a bit. And other than that, we have other things like, we want to be moving quickly and be very iterative in our approach and lead with, and push the boundaries, like lead with innovation. And I think we're a very research-led company. There is no prototype for how companies should be built in a very research-led way, right? This is the first time I think it's really happening. And if you look at classic Silicon Valley companies which are transformative, Apple is famously design-led, Google is famously engineering-led, Facebook is famously product-led, Amazon is famously customer-led to some extent, right? And so, but I think with OpenAI, I feel like there's a completely new paradigm in being, what does it mean to create a research-led company? And I think we're all figuring that out. I wouldn't say I have all the answers, but I think that's also a very core part of our ethos.
And do you find because there's a war for talent as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely.
Keeping them interested and challenged and well compensated is, I'm sure, a big issue. Because for enterprises here, it's...
I don't know if you know what Sam said yesterday. I don't know if you saw that.
That's what I was referring to.
Yeah, my friend Subbu's there at Meta. So apparently Meta made a $100 million offer to many of the top AI researchers at OpenAI.
Sign-on bonus.
Sign-on bonuses. So I wouldn't be surprised, actually. Thankfully, nobody left, but that's good.
Yeah, so it's a constant challenge, I'm sure, for you to I mean,
Yeah, I think it again goes back to the importance of, the talent is incredibly important.
Yeah.
And there is just a big war for talent. Everybody wants the best people. So, yeah.
so you mentioned like feel the AGI. The enterprises here, Tavant itself, we're just trying to feel the AI right now, right? And we had the CEO of Eightfold AI on the first night on the rooftop, and he was talking about a mindset shift that needs to happen.
Yeah.
And people, other bullet train analogies, et cetera, that, we need to get on the train at least with some pilots and so on, because people, we had a long discussion about the ROI yesterday, and people are still, as we should, figure out what the ROI is, and come up with use cases where you get the biggest bang for the buck. And so Tavant is helping a whole range of customers in various industries. What are some of the use cases? A two-part question. One is, like internally, I'm sure you're using it for coding, right? So that's, I'm assuming, is a given.
Yeah.
But beyond that, what are some of your own use cases?
Yeah. Every function at OpenAI is experimenting with our own models with technology. For example, we have a go-to-market team.
Yeah.
They qualify our sales leads using our own internal tools.
Okay.
And actually, it's giving really, really good results. We use it for producing financial reports. When we negotiate contracts with vendors that we play with, our finance team basically uses AI to actually read contracts and figure out if there are like gotchas or things that we should watch out for. Marketing, clearly we use that. So I would say every function, HR, we're really using that. We write summarizing feedback about people, performance reviews. So every function, I would say, is using it to some extent.
Okay. So it's outside even of the engineering.
Absolutely. Yeah. Engineering, of course, we are all using coding tools and coding assistants, but it goes way beyond engineering. Yeah.
Okay. So kind of related question on the infrastructure side. We had a flavor for Meta's infrastructure. I mean, because they have also their core applications that have users. They're not necessarily pure LLM based, right?
Yeah.
So they're the old Instagram, et cetera.
That's right. Yeah.
You guys don't have that. You have your models, and that is your product, right? So on the journey of monetization of those, we keep getting asked the question, what will be in our own use cases at enterprises? People are trying to come up with how to price a solution that is based on AI. Should it be a session-based or a conversation-based, compute-based, energy-based? I've been asked all those questions.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing as the evolving trend in that? How will we pay for the consumption of AI?
I will not pretend to have the perfect answer here, but I'll tell you things I've seen, right?
Okay.
I think value-based pricing is super interesting.
Okay.
If you look at coding, like some of the companies are charging based on the value that you would deliver. Like if you can actually have an intern like AI assistant that is helping you be 30%, 40% more productive, I mean, the value that you're creating is enormous. So can you charge based on that is actually an interesting question. Some companies just charge based on tokens.
Okay.
I think it also is a question of how much value are you bringing on top of the model itself. So if you are just a shim layer on top of the model, I think the economics will basically just be token based. Because you're not adding that much value. Basically, there are five different models that do the same thing. They're all going to be priced pretty similarly. But if you're adding enough interesting value on top of the model, maybe you have unique data sets, maybe you have a user experience that is actually really unique, and therefore the value you're creating for the customer, you're saving, maybe you're making them more productive, I think there is an opportunity for value-based pricing.
Okay. So adjacent question then to that is, you're getting into the tooling space as well, right? So I'm assuming enterprises can license those that toolkit. Because, I mean, right now it's kind of emerging. All the hyperscalers are offering their own toolkits built on top of your models often. But you plan to help, like, will there be tools for agentic AI and so on? So OpenAI will offer APIs, etc., and probably a development environment?
Yeah, we already do to some extent. I mean, we have APIs. We recently launched things called Responses API. You can create agentic applications. And we're going to continue to, I mean, like if you go back to our mission, right, we want to make AGI beneficial for all of humanity. Our biggest product today is obviously ChatGPT, and it's used both as a consumer product, but also it's used for lots of work situations. People use it as a productivity tool. But that AI transformation and benefits to humanity doesn't end with just like having an interactive super assistant. We want to enable people to transform healthcare or finance or all these applications. So we're going to create entirely ecosystem of tools, not just the models, to help create agentic applications. We want to make workflows more agentic, and what set of tools do you need around it? So I think, yeah, absolutely, you're going to see a lot more stuff coming out.
Yeah. So you say, benefit of humanity. There's a whole side of humanity that's not so nice. And they're starting to use your models to create cyber threats and so on. Are you looking at it like, okay, this is obviously not part of the mission to enable bad actors? Are you putting in anything that makes it difficult? We learned about, prompt injections and hackers that can hack agents and things like that. Or just create new kinds of threats that didn't exist before, or make it easier to create them. Can you make it harder for them?
Yeah. So this is actually a very broad set of things that we deal with, and AI safety is really at the heart of everything that we do. And I would look at it from different perspectives. I think there are clearly near-term harms, like is the model saying something that is inappropriate? We try to steer the model to not do that, and then we have monitoring in place to see if that happens. We have an entire thing called preparedness framework. So every time we create a new frontier model, we evaluate the model for new kinds of risks. Is the model going to be used for creating bioweapons, chemical weapons, etc.? We evaluate whether the risk is high or low, and then we can monitor them and classify, depending on the things that people are asking, whether these risks are happening again, and we monitor them at scale. There are completely new kinds of security challenges too, that I would say are open research challenges, that they are fundamentally unsolved. I don't know if you've seen some of the recent things about, if you have applications where you are combining private sources of information from public sources of information, can you hack the model to reveal the private sources of information in an open way, right? And these are open research risks. And it will be like a security system eventually, right? Which is, you never completely solve it, but it ends up being an adversarial game, and you're constantly improving it, making it harder for people to hack you. But that is an open research problem. So I don't think we have perfect solutions there yet.
So then will you see it being done both ways, where enterprises, especially larger ones, can bring in the LLMs in-house, complement it with their data? I'm assuming you'll provide some tooling to help ingest that data and make it seem all seamless.
Right. I think there's a whole suite of tools you can use, right? You can kind of do retrieval based on data sets. You can fine-tune models if you want. And then with agentic applications, if you have very specific applications, APIs you want the model to learn and understand, you can prompt them. You can do API fine-tuning. There's like an entire, clearly a growing set of tools that you can use for this.
And these will be tools you will offer as part of your ecosystem?
Yeah, we already have some of them, and they're going to grow, yes.
All right. Yeah. And because, we get into these, as on our services side, we get into like which is the best tool? Because NVIDIA offers a whole bunch of tools as well. Then you guys have tools, and then Microsoft also has.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of tools. So,
Yeah.
and then there's the infrastructure side of it is, whether it's Bedrock or Azure and so
Yeah.
on. So there's a whole tech stack that needs to be created, even for the development environment, right? And and this is all new, right? Enterprises were just doing digital transformation.
Yeah.
And now
Now
they're
it's- yeah.
saying, they're not even complete, and
Yeah.
now we've put this on them. So there's a lot that needs to happen, even before they can do enterprise grade agentic applications. Companies like ServiceNow can do it for themselves, and we heard that they can offer a whole stack. So what is your advice to large scale and medium enterprises? Like, how do you start off so that you can build POCs quickly
Yeah.
and without having to make large scale, tech stack decisions for millions of dollars?
I kind of think of this in 3 buckets. The easiest thing to do is to empower the company to start using AI and use it as a personal productivity enhancing tool. Whether that's ChatGPT, your favorite other tool, whatever. I would say that's the easiest thing to get started, and it makes the entire workforce more AI literate, and they know how to use it. They know how to make themselves more productive. I think that's like the base level, right? Just use it as an individual productivity enhancer. Second stage is do workflow transformation within the company. And again, pick a few critical workflows where you see the opportunity, and then experiment. And again, which tool you pick, I think there's a few of them, but pick, experiment, invest in evaluation so that you can be very rigorous. The landscape changes very quickly, right? The models of yesterday are very different from the models of today. And what you can achieve today is, again, very different from what you can achieve maybe even last year. Reasoning models is a completely new paradigm. And that enables you to do things that you couldn't have done before. So a big part of this is investing in rigorous evaluations so that you can evaluate whatever is the best model for your use case, and then experiment in a few places. The third thing I would say is probably the biggest bang for the buck, but maybe the hardest, is how do you transform completely with AI? Instead of just being a productivity enhancer and workflows like automation, I think those are good, but I think you're also seeing companies that are completely reimagining what can be done with AI, and not just doing things in the old way, right? And so what does that mean for a specific company? And because I feel like a lot of these industries are going to get disrupted with AI being first and not being done in a legacy way. So I would say that's the third thing. And I think finding some way to experiment with that would also be really interesting.
So in addition, the IT groups where, there's a lot of coding happening in a very traditional SDLC. We've, of course, made heavy investments in transforming our own workforce, and we're seeing tremendous gains, 40, 50, 60% improvement relative to what it used to be. Is that kind of what you're hearing in the industry, or numbers tend to be very application or environment specific?
You mean for individual productivity?
Or individual, let's say, of a software developer, or testing especially, right? Where you can do use case generation. So are you seeing similar productivity gains?
So we haven't measured. It depends on how you measure.
Right.
And I actually think Google actually Sundar talked about this recently, where they did a measurement, and their measurement was that their engineers are 10% more productive.
10%.
Yeah. And again, software engineering is not just writing code.
Right.
And if you just talk about the part of where am I writing code faster, that is going to be much, much faster. A much larger chunk of code that is being produced by AI these days, right? It's whether assistive or completely agentic. But software engineering is also lots of other things. You have to figure out how to work with other people, and that is a large part of your job. And AI hasn't completely automated or enhanced it there. I think that will happen over time. So if you look at it in aggregate, the numbers are probably not like, I need half the people to do the same job. That it's not 2x productivity improvement in aggregate, but 10% is at the Google scale is pretty significant. And end-to-end productivity improvement, right? And that I think will continue to improve over time as well.
Are you going to get into, there's a lot of, especially in financial services, there's a lot of legacy.
Sorry, one more stat. I think Anthropic has said this, which is that I think they said 70% of their PRs are generated by AI or something. Again, it depends on how you measure.
Okay.
These measurements are a little bit subtle. If I'm using it in an assistive way and making some edits, that number is going to be extremely high.
Yeah.
If you think about, is the AI entirely generating the code? I actually think that is like maybe early double digits.
Some people measure it by number of check-in, check-outs on code, right?
Yeah.
What is the frequency of that?
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's such a great statistic, but another thing, there's a lot of hope, at least at this stage, is there's huge amounts, billions and billions of lines of code, especially in financial services. It's all mainframe in some cases, dead languages. Are you getting into that space of creating LLMs for various languages that are considered mainframe legacy?
So we don't maybe do hyper focus on those sort of very specific, we want to go and replace mainframes. But I think in general, I would say we care about coding a lot. And we're going to build models that are good at coding in general. We'll always have, they're very good at Python today. We'll make it better in other languages and stuff. But whether we go and specialize in a specific language, maybe it's a little bit hard to say.
Okay.
Yeah. But I would say the models today are pretty good at a very wide variety of languages.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. We find that, there's a case of Morgan Stanley recently, I think, that created their own model to extract requirements from a legacy language so that then they could use those requirements to create a new architecture and then develop it in whatever tech stack they wanted to. So I thought that was a better approach because language translation always just makes me nervous. Like you might just translate one to another and get the same old shitty architecture that you had, just in a different language. Like start, from Latin to, Aramaic or something. Yeah. What good is that going to do? So
instead of literally translating, you're boiling it down to the essence of what you're trying to do and regenerating it. Yeah, that's interesting.
So this is we have a few customers that have approached us to look at that. So IBM has some, because it's their mainframes of COBOL that's been around. So that's a use case that in their companies that offer these solutions as in a SaaS form.
Yeah. I think the other thing you could do there is generate test cases.
Yeah.
And use that as basically your evaluation criteria.
To see whether the new one is you're getting the same. Yeah, that's a good point. So you mentioned reasoning. So what should we expect there, and what are the benefits to enterprises?
It is a pretty big shift in the capability of the models that have started in the last 9 months or so. And the main breakthrough is that, if you look at humans, if I ask you a simple question like what is 2 + 2, you're going to give me immediately an answer of 4. If I ask you a really complicated question, which is like, okay, how do you see AI transforming, businesses in the next 20 years? You're going to not tell me like in 2 seconds. You're going to have to think about this. You're going to have to think deeply about the problem, analyze it, understand it, and come back with it, right? Until reasoning models, we never kind of quite had that capability, independent of the complexity of the question. The AI was just going to like spit out an answer pretty immediately. But it's clear that for complex questions, you want the ability, like humans, to think through the problem, analyze whether you're on the right track, and maybe if you're not on the right track, like step back and say, no, that is not a good path. I want to maybe explore a different path. So really, the ability for the models to think in context, to see if it is on the right track, to be able to backtrack, to explore multiple paths, and then really come up with the final answer is a really new way of doing AI, right? And that's how humans do it. So I think that's a very profound shift. And we're probably on the early stage of that shift. And I would expect these capabilities of these models to continue to improve over time. Now, what that means for us is that you can hand more complex tasks to AI systems. And not only can they think more, they can also learn to use tools along the way. I think customer service is probably the biggest vertical where we have seen this happen quite a bit, which is the ability to think more about problems, to be able to interact with multiple tools, to figure out whether there's a complicated system, what is the policies for the company, where is this user in their journey, what can I do about it? So that's one simple example where we have seen this. But I think the bigger thing is that you're going to be able to hand off more complex tasks to AI systems. They're going to be able to think through the problem, interact with the whole suite of tools, and then come back to you with an answer, whether it takes 15 minutes or 20 minutes. So a product that we launched recently, just a few months ago, is called Deep Research. I don't know if you've used it.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean,
so that's the whole chain of thought.
Right.
And I'm assuming it offers better explainability of whatever your output is.
That's correct. Yeah.
So I think that would make the, so if something goes wrong, you can essentially debug what happened. If some bad decision was made based on...
You can see the chain of thought and then say, okay, why did you do it this way or that way?
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So is that like something that, it's not something that, like most responses we get back, this is some asynchronous task, it goes off?
So it depends. I think it's basically a spectrum, right?
Okay.
You can ask for it to come back with an answer fairly soon.
Okay.
Or you can also ask it to say, hey, just go and do this research report for me and analyze AI's impact in the financial industry over the top 100 companies and just take whatever time you want. And it can take 15 minutes and come back with you an answer. So I think of it as like a slider, and you can decide how much time you want the AI to spend. And depending on the complexity of the question, I think it should just adjust itself and take as much time as it's warranted.
So the use cases I've read about that, it's just if I were working for a management consultancy, that's going to be like very useful to them, but also impactful in that, a lot of people will be able to do these things by themselves. A lot of
it is disruptive.
Strategy
I agree.
And I think it goes as much into what the strategy should be based on market dynamics, for instance, right? So it gets pretty involved. So so these tasks can be done in like minutes?
Yeah, today hours? I would say 15, 20, 30 minutes. Models can think that long.
Okay.
I don't think we're in the phase where they can think for hours or days.
All right.
You can imagine all that kind of happening in the future, right? So we have gone from maybe the initial models giving you answers immediately in seconds to now they can think for 10, 15, 30 minutes easily, or even an hour.
Right. So, I mean, this is then, is it getting into the, in terms of AGI, is that will AI create something that's never been created, or will it always be a synthesis of things that were created before?
So we haven't yet seen completely new novel ideas generated by AI yet. People are still using it as an assistive tool. It is helping people maybe explore novel ideas and things like that. But I don't think AI itself has had a breakthrough or created a completely novel insight that has never been done. I think we hope that will happen in the future. I don't see anything fundamental that it can't do it. But I think that's an open research question.
So at this point, I mean, in your definition of AGI, is that it should be able to, or because everybody has their own definition?
Yeah, I don't use the word AGI as much. As like, I think it's just a term.
Okay.
Though the one definition we have used in the past is that AI being able to do economically valuable work.
Okay.
And if you go by that definition, I think it's already doing a lot of really valuable economic work.
I mean, it's already,
the other definition of AGI is it's whatever it hasn't been solved yet. Okay, so just the goalpost keeps shifting.
Yeah, and then it's mirror, mirror on the wall, make me coffee, right?
Right.
So bring it to me.
Yeah.
So I have this on the economically valuable or useful front, um, in the internet phase, right? We said everything will be on the internet, and then search revolutionized things. You could find things you could never even dream of. And then it became a black box, it became very algorithmic, and then it got polluted by advertising and all that. Right now, I mean, this is an audience question. Are you guys using, whatever your favorite search engine was, are you using it a lot less and asking questions to your favorite AI chatbot, like 50% less on, so it's just dramatically changed.
Yeah.
So do you think, at some point, that's going to get into the AI results as well, that the results will be influenced by advertisers?
Let me first talk about the product experience, and then we'll maybe talk about the ecosystem, right? It's pretty clear that our brains have been wired to 25 years of search,
right,
where we are translating some hidden goal that we have into keywords.
Right.
That is not, I think, how we want to actually work with real tools,
now
right?
it's always framed in a question form.
Right, and now you actually want to just tell the AI, what is it that you're trying to do, right? Like, it's not typing 3 keywords, there's a hidden intent in you.
Yeah.
I think that's why we're seeing this transformation, which is you want answers.
Yeah, it's a goal. You set it a goal.
You set it a goal, you're saying something. And again, like we've also wired ourselves to getting answers immediately. I want to type a search query and within a second I want 10 links, right? Like that is not the user problem. Let's say you are trying to buy a car. Like you're not trying to put cars, get 10 links, click a button, buy, right? Like there is a hidden thing that it's a more complex thing that you're trying to do. And AI can help you much better. It can go and spend maybe 30 minutes, create a research report and saying, this is a set of, for your criteria, here's all the 5 different things that you can buy and here's the pros and cons and I'll come back to you in 20 minutes. That is a much better experience than you clicking around things, right? So I think search as a product experience is absolutely changing and transforming, and we want answers, we don't want links. We also want the AI to do things for us, not just give us answers, right? And so you're going to see that change. How it changes the ecosystem, I think is interesting, and I don't think we have fully figured this out, because you do need an incentive structure where people are incentivized to create the content, where if AI is consuming it and giving it answers, what is it in it for me? I don't think we have solved that problem, to be honest with you, and I think we'll have to work through it.
Okay.
You can imagine getting links back or affiliates or all kinds of programs, but we'll have to work through it.
So I have just now a personal question. So what's your favorite personal life use case for AI? Like in your personal life, what's your favorite?
I use it for learning new things all the time. I think that's even ChatGPT's biggest use case is education.
Right.
But researching things, learning new things, it's just incredible.
Yeah, we saw a nice use case from Khan Academy.
Yeah.
Of where it doesn't give you the answer. But
personalized learning, Khan made it.
Walks you through getting to the right answer. That's very, I think, in a learning environment, if we had stuff like that when we were growing up, I'd know a lot more.
I think there is downsides to it too. Actually, there is an interesting debate happening in education where people are lazy. They're just trying to get answers out of ChatGPT. There's a complaint that people are not actually really learning.
Yeah.
So there is that downside. At the flip side, it can be incredibly personalized.
Yeah.
If you use it the right way, you can actually learn better. So those are the two sides of the coin. And I hope that we just take advantage of the models for what it's good at and sort of minimize the downside.
There was a funny debate going on a few months back where people were wondering, should we say please to ChatGPT or whether it's a waste of tokens? What do you think? There was research on both sides that said the answers are different. And I have a kind of a take on this. So.
Yeah, so the way I look at it is the interface is like a human.
Right.
And you're going to get different answers based on what you put in. So this is not a correctness question, it's a personality question. Okay. And I think personality matters.
Right.
So yeah, if please is making you happier in what it's telling you, by all means you should use it.
Done with that extra token and the energy, we shouldn't worry about
Don't
it?
worry about it.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, okay. Well, I have a personal view on this. I think we should all say please, because when AI takes over, they'll remember we were nice to them, right? I mean, when we're all enslaved, they'll remember, right? They remember everything now?
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that much I know. It's like, so if I'm saying please and I don't like the answer, I mean, it's like, okay, you're wrong. Try again is what I say.
Yeah.
Which is it gives another response,
Yeah.
which is kind of fun. So, so in this whole arc of history, where you talked about some of the recent tech innovations, you say AI is bigger than the internet and the mobile and cloud, et cetera, combined. How does it compare to like writing or language or wheel or the steam engine? Those were transformative too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a deep study of historian, like, and analyze these big revolutions, but this is really, really.
Yeah.
Maybe I can give you a qualitative answer, right? Haven't done a quantitative analysis of like, okay, what's the impact AI has delivered compared to these big revolutions? But I mean, every single sector of society is impacted. We see this in the use cases that people are using it for. Finance, healthcare, education, technology, agriculture.
Agriculture is huge.
I've rarely seen something that is so impactful, so profoundly, and such a large scale. And governments are interested, right? And I think it is, so I would say qualitatively, it feels like it is one of the biggest transformations we all have experienced in, or we will experience in a long time. And it seems something, for me, the electricity analogy was interesting. It feels like that to me.
Yeah.
It is just so widespread. And the other part of it is like, we discover new use cases all the time.
Right.
And it's not like, I know that I'm just going to chat to ChatGPT and that's the end of it, right? I think there's new things people are going to discover or what we're going to be able to do. And this is also why there is so much investment in the infrastructure and and getting data centers and chips and all this wired up, because there is this deep belief that, I think we're nowhere close to getting all the benefits of this technology. So if we invest in the infrastructure, it's like kind of like building the electricity grid in the early 1900s or something. Like, could we imagine that we're going to have televisions and refrigerators and all these things, right? And so it's not just like lamps that we wanted to build, right? And so I think that's a very similar analogy for me. You're going to start discovering all kinds of interesting use cases for this, and that's driving it. So I think it feels really big and transformative.
Yeah, I would agree that, every day you read of a new use case. Every day I hear of companies that are founded based on a very specific use case of AI. So startup. So the VCs are now really flooding startups that are very AI, not even AI forward, that's become kind of a buzzword, but they're just based on AI, the whole setup and the speed at which they can launch products or develop or even the speed at which they fail, which is not a bad thing. It's like, if you have a shitty idea, it should fail quickly and then move on to something else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, so it's okay. We should say please if we want, but it's not going to consume so much energy that the next time I say hit send, the lights will flicker because it takes up so much energy right now. You don't see that happening right now. Any thoughts on quantum AI or quantum machine learning, quantum computers being used in AI? No issues there.
I mean, I'm not an expert at this, so I don't think I'll say anything that is very insightful or useful. I mean, it seems pretty interesting and transformative, but
and lower
I don't
energy
think
is one of the other.
Yeah, and maybe you can use it for things, but I don't. We haven't thought through this, or there isn't any near-term impact yet.
Okay, so you mentioned governments, and we're almost out of time. So you were on a tour recently with Sam Altman, right? On meeting some high-level government. How was that? How many places did you go? How many countries?
I only went to India. I think
Yeah.
he did a bigger tour.
Okay.
But I think the interesting thing is there is an enormous amount of interest from governments all over the world.
Right.
Because they see the opportunity, they see the potential. And even if you look at India, right, I think the attitudes to AI is actually quite different in different parts of the world. India is like very excited about AI because they see this as a huge opportunity to make the citizens more literate,
Right.
solve very fundamental problems in areas like healthcare. So the governments are super interested in deploying AI at a very large scale to all their citizens. I think they also care a lot about sovereignty because they see a transformative technology, they want to be able to shape it. And so I think we're having all these discussions. I don't know where we'll all end up, but yeah, enormous amount of interest.
Awesome. Audience questions, guys?
Super interesting. Two questions. So, do you use other tools than OpenAI, personally or for business? Is that forbidden in OpenAI? And the other thing, does OpenAI restrict you in any way to use their tools? So, look, everyone here is talking about compliance and can we trust to send stuff to OpenAI or any other tool, right? So, what's the policy of OpenAI for their own employees there?
Yeah, I mean, we use other tools just to know what is out there so that we can benchmark ourselves. So we don't restrict that. But the majority use cases are all on our own models because we have pretty good stuff and there isn't a big need for us to do, but we do encourage people to experiment. So at least we know what is out there. In terms of complaints and things like that, we take this pretty seriously. Like for our business enterprise customers, we don't train on your data, right? That's a promise that we make, and we don't want that, right? So we want you to feel safe and comfortable providing your data. We know that is your unique asset, and we shouldn't be using it in ways that you're not comfortable with. So I think that's a thing that we take very, very seriously.
Right, but I mean, within OpenAI, you're not, there's no kind of policy of certain data that you, for your own work, cannot.
Yeah. So, for example, when we play with third-party models just for our own purposes, we ensure that they are not using it in ways that we are not comfortable with, right? Just like the promise that we make to you, we want others to make to us.
Srinivas, one question. Your product is your model. That's the most important.
Yeah, that's the most important part of it. I don't fully agree that the model is the product. I think, yeah.
My follow-up question was, and I do want to hear about, what are the other parts of the product? I mean, I think it's a very complex company now. When it comes to the models and launching new versions of it, right? I mean, you're in the cloud and everything is, probably you're making hundreds of releases a day or whatever it is. How do you test the efficacy of the model and the safety of the models, right? Because there could be regression in terms of how the models are performing, right? Mm-hmm. Is that all automated in-house within it? I'm just trying to understand the infrastructure how they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Evaluations is really, really important. We have offline evals. Obviously, every model release, we go through that. Both for quality, we have all kinds of benchmarks. Also safety benchmarks, we run through them. And then we A/B test our models with, you can do this on ChatGPT. We run A/B tests and make sure that our users in aggregate prefer something over the previous one.
So it's running through the whole thing.
Yeah.
A quick question. Have you read Apple's recent paper on limitations of AI, what it is, what it isn't, and maybe what's your reaction to it?
Yeah, I haven't read the entire paper, but I know the gist of it. And I think there is some truth to all of that, right? Which is I think if the TLDR is that the way the models think is not necessarily the most precise way in which humans think. And I think I'm not saying these reasoning problems and the way these models are acting is like exactly like humans. So there's probably some interesting research insights there that we can use. But we're also working on things like that, right? So I think one is if you evaluate the model on the actual outcome, they're already creating a huge amount of impact. Now we're shining a little bit of light on the thought process. And is the thought process actually interesting, rigorous? Is it optimal? And clearly it's not. So we even have research internally to figure out how do we actually guide the thought process in a way that is more efficient. So it feels a little bit more like you can actually get to the outcomes in a better way. But yeah.
Hi, enormously valuable session, thank you. I'm going to ask more of a media and entertainment use case perspective. What are some, I mean, the industry itself is going through a transformation due to streaming, due to advertising models. I'm just curious sort of what type of transformation or use cases you're seeing in the media entertainment within OpenAI.
I mean, marketing, content creation. We recently had Image Gen. I don't know if you have played with it. It's actually really incredible. It's the ability for you to generate images, but in a very conversational way where you can guide the generation process. So you can say something and you generate something, but you can then say, no, I don't want that. I want you to change this part of the image, and I make this, guide it in very specific ways, like you would talk to a human, right? And I think that's incredibly powerful. And this became so viral. We had 100 million people sign up to our account within 1 week.
On the creative side,
Yeah.
are you also seeing across like distribution, advertising, what are people sort of, using the Gen AI most?
Absolutely. I mean, advertising is like lots of people are using this for creatives and video generation. They are using LLMs to maybe create like a structure of a plan, and then they are using image or video generation models to create individual snippets, and then they have some way to orchestrate and stitch things together. So yeah, absolutely. I think there's lots of really interesting ways in which people are trying this.
Is OpenAI going to be actively going after spread of fake news with all the technology? That's going to be the problem of the, at least, immediate generation, right? So is there any specific take on that?
Yeah, I think that is a real threat, and it's a safety thing that we do care about and we worry about. I think there are a few different ways you solve this. One is provenance. I think you can do things to know if things are AI generated or not. We've been investing in standards around this. There's something called, I think CCPA, if I'm not mistaken, Content Something Provenance Act. We invest in technologies to help you understand that. I also think over time, society will adapt to this and be more, maybe discerning and thoughtful. And yeah, how do you know what is true or not?
One last question.
Question over here. Question on, so you mentioned the safety in trying to make sure that models aren't used for things that are dangerous. So as it's brought up how many people are using it instead of search, for example. So the gatekeeper of information is moving to these types of products. But even more than that, it's not just a search anymore. It's actually shaping how we think about things. It's presenting an opinion in a sense. So how do you balance, or how does OpenAI think about balancing safety, nudging humanity in a direction, staying neutral? What's the role here?
Yeah, we think about this quite a bit, and there are, again, like different dimensions to the problem, which is model behavior is one part of it, which is the model saying things that we don't really want it to say, and how do you steer it towards that, right? That is the safety question, and we have rigorous evaluations. We shape the model behavior in ways, we ask it to avoid things that we don't want it, and then we monitor all of that. I think there is a second question here, which I think is maybe deeper, and I'm not going to have like a 30-second answer to it, which is, how is this actually influencing people in relationships that they're forming with AI? Like, is it creating dependencies that are maybe unhealthy? And is it, I don't think we have very clear answers to this because it's a completely new technology, and I think people are forming new relationships with this. We have to study this a lot more. And I think it'll be frivolous for me to say that, we have this figured out.
All right. Well, thank you, Srinivas.
Thank you.
That's been great.
Good to see you.
See you come back. I have one request. There's a few other folks here from the day one team. I just want a picture with you guys on the stage. Sarvesh, Manish, Ravi is here. Where did Subbu go? Just one picture. All right, come on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the day one team, come on. strip mall in Sunnyvale or Santa Clara, someplace. So. Come on in. All right. Thank you.